Welcome to episode 209 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast, recorded live on December 18th, 2020. This is a show about Microsoft 365 and Azure from the perspective of IT pros and end users, where we discuss a topic or recent news and how it relates to you. Today, despite the holidays, there is still news to discuss as we talk about some new features near and dear to Scott's heart in Azure storage, some updates to the Microsoft Authenticator app, and some of Ben's woes running Office Insider builds. Okay, and it is freezing cold. Anyway,
it is very chilly in Florida right now. There's this general philosophy, and I've done this most places in the world that I've lived, but it happens especially in Florida that you wait as long as you can to turn the heat on.
Yep.
Because the day that you turn the heat on is bad, right? It's the first time that you've used that thing in a year.
Right.
So it always smells horrible the first time. Well, it just kicks everything out. Like the air smells warm, it dries everything out. I think we were talking about it a little bit. It affects your allergies. It affects my son's allergies. Like just it's a no good, like very bad affair. But thankfully, like, and I think you're in the same boat, being that we get around, or you're from the northern half of the United States, so we know how to dress a little bit warmer. So you just break
Yes.
out you break out a thicker sweatshirt or something more comfortable. Like I am walking around in like a Patagonia sweatshirt today because I should be wearing this coat outside when it's 40 degrees, but I will happily wear it inside when it is 60 degrees in Florida, because 60 is like -80 Fahrenheit, any place else.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like in jeans and a hoodie and
Yeah.
all of that. But
Oh, I am
same.
absolutely. I'm wearing Uggs right now, like
Oh, you're.
really nice slippers. Like, yeah, no, it's. I'm in.
I'm still
Sold.
barefoot.
Oh, you're an ants monster.
Yes, but I had to go outside this morning. So the other thing about Florida is, like, it doesn't get that cold that long that we close our pools. So our pool is open year round.
Yep.
That being said, when it gets this cold, the trees in northern Florida do start dropping their leaves. So I end up with scads and scads of leaves in our pool because it's not covered. So the water's like 50 degrees, and I have to reach my hand in there and pull the leaves out. And
Ugh,
I
brutal.
came in and I
Brutal.
like grabbed my kids. I'm like, here's my hands. And they're freezing. They scream and run, and it's all good. Because we used to do that up north, right? You come on in from outside and your hands are freezing. You like stick them on the back of somebody's neck.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes.
That still happens down here too. So
Yep. But it feels nice. To your point, like as soon as it drops below 70, I'm like, oh, I can get out my jeans and my hoodie and my socks and my slippers. And everybody else is
yeah,
like, we're in shorts and t-shirts. I'm like, yes, but I have to take advantage of this in Florida.
yeah. Every place I've worked has always laughed at me, but like when it's less than 70, and particularly when it's less than like 60 degrees outside, that means that I'm allowed to put wood in the fireplace and be a pyromaniac.
Oh yeah.
And we have an indoor wood burning fireplace, which is kind of fun in Florida.
That
But
always
so you
makes
don't
me
get,
laugh in Florida.
but same thing. You cannot use it. The opportunities to use it are few and far between. It's way easier to do the fire pit outside. So anytime that I can go out and grab all that wood and use it inside, I'm down for that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll stay this way. This will come out Christmas Eve. So to those of you that celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas Eve. Those of you that don't, happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy I don't know. I saw there's like 14 holidays between November 20 and January like five or
Quite a
six.
few. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, happy holidays to
Ultimately,
all. Yeah.
everyone should hopefully get the chance to recharge a little bit. Like 2020 has been a year.
It's still 2020.
Like it is, yeah. I know at Microsoft from the outside, it always felt like everybody disappeared around this time of year because they all use up their vacation time. They have things they can't roll over, whatever it is. Especially this year, everyone has disappeared. And being on the inside, it's like, whoa, way more people than you know actually go on vacation and they just disappear. So being new to Microsoft, I didn't have a ton of vacation time built up, and I was like, yeah, just let it like build and roll over. Um,
Yep.
but I was looking at the calendar and everybody else's schedules and what was going on. I was like, at this point, I think I can sneak like 4 days in and nobody would even notice. So,
Except that you
uh,
just told everybody.
well, no, I mean like none of my customers would be
Oh,
impacted.
got it.
None of the business processes that I support would be hurt because I said I was going to be around, and now I'm
Yep.
sitting at home playing on my Xbox.
Got it. Well, hopefully you can fire up a fire on Christmas Eve too. Like you said, kick back, relax. I've been working like nuts the last 2.5 months or so. So I'm actually going to try to take a little bit more than like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off here the next week too.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat you are. So I'm looking forward to trying to figure something out.
Yes. And hopefully it stays cool. We can enjoy some fires and playing outside, that type of stuff. But there is still news coming out, despite everybody leaving for a couple weeks. We have some news we can talk about.
Yeah,
About things you should do and things you should not do.
Where do you want to start?
Well, we could start with my issue, but that wasn't really one of our agenda items.
Oh,
Me and my Insider Fast problems. Don't install Insider Fast.
I think one of your themes, like not a resolution because people set resolutions and they don't want to solve them, but one of your yearly themes for 2021, if like you step back and think about the way you leverage technology within your life.
Yep.
Because technology is an enabler for you, right? It is part of your job. It is
what absolutely.
Provides for your family. It's why you have a house with a pool, all those kinds of things. I could make the argument that for calendar year 2021, one of your themes should be working towards stability in the tools that support your business.
Daily work.
Yes, because you have a penchant to, I don't know.
You can call it an addiction, Scott.
No,
I would.
It's
like
it's
an addiction.
You get these inklings to do things like run beta operating systems on your everyday carry laptop. Your issue today. Let's talk about your issue today. So Insider Fast on Macs. What's going on there?
So I installed Insider Fast for Outlook.
Well, hold on. You didn't install it. You run on the Insider Fast ring all the time.
I run Insider Fast on my Mac of all of my Office applications. So I update these Office applications twice a week. Usually Monday night and Wednesday night updates come out. So Wednesday nights was delayed. I don't know why. I didn't update it till yesterday, like midday. And as soon as I updated it, Outlook crashed. I was like, oh, okay, I'll restart it. So I clicked the little restart Outlook and it crashes again. I'm in an endless crashing loop of Outlook for Mac right now where it like doesn't even launch. It's like 2 seconds after I click to open it, it crashes. So I think Microsoft got the picture and realized it. Yesterday it was like provide feedback, tell us what you're doing, all of that. Today if I click it, they like pushed out some, I'm guessing it renders some iframe or something, some web-based form in the background. Now if I click to open it, instead of being able to fill out feedback about what I was doing, it says, by the way, Microsoft is aware of this issue and a fix is coming shortly. We apologize for any inconvenience and appreciate the use of pre-release builds to help improve Office. I think they maybe got a few crash reports over the last 24 hours.
Just maybe like one or two. Huh?
And again, I do have a penchant for this. I installed Big Sur when it was in beta, which now that it's kind of stabilized, I did get off the beta version of that. I'm on no longer beta version of iOS, of Mac OS, of iPad OS. I am fast Insider build of Office. Oh, the other one, Visual Studio. I was on Visual Studio, like the nightly build of Visual Studio Code. I was having all kinds of problems with that. And
Yeah, that's no, that's not a good
a
place to be.
mutual friend was like, you should just install the release build because it works way better. So I installed that, and lo and behold, all my problems went away.
Hmm.
Um,
I think we've
Nightly
been
build of
chatting on the
Edge.
side a bunch about M1 Max and things like that as well. So maybe 2021 is the year that you acquire an M1 Mac and that becomes your beta build, and you use your Intel one as like your day to day,
Oh,
like get the job done thing. And then when you walk away, you take the beta build, and if it crashes while you're on the couch checking your email, it's not
I'm
such an
not.
impact to your life. Because you were
You know
pretty
what?
amped up this morning talking about Office being broken. Like I think that is actually like a thing that majorly impacts your day, not having
So
access to your email.
Outlook does. I think what tends to fascinate me with these insider fast builds is like, and maybe it's something unique to me, but obviously a bunch of other people had this before, is how did this even get out? Like, I feel like before they would push out a insider fast build, someone would have tried to open it. Again, unless there is a unique set of circumstances around like 6 email accounts or more than 5 email accounts in Outlook, or some extenuating circumstance that wasn't tested, but a lot of people tend to have.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that happens. There's a ton of automated testing that goes on as well. So, regression tests on builds and things like that. And ultimately, um, those may or may not catch everything uh, uh, that you want them to,
Yeah.
So,
But I do like your idea of an M1. Maybe I should get an Air, like get one of the what 799 M1
yeah.
Airs,
Oh, yeah.
because I
That's,
also want to see, could I do my day-to-day work, or if we ever start traveling again, like would I be happy on an Air? Because I have had this thought, maybe I should do like an Air and a Mac Mini and go back to the whole two machine model. One for traveling, one that's a little more powerful that sits at my desk. But I want to make sure I'm actually happy working on a 13-inch screen because, truth be told, I have been working on 15 or larger yet for a long time. Um, I've never tried to do a lot on the smaller screen, and I like the form factor. I don't know that I like the screen size.
I mean, it's like your iPad, right? Running around. So, if you like
Yes,
doing things on your iPad, like think about potentially it supplants that as a
but I
device.
do
Um,
very different things on my iPad than I do on my laptop.
I think you do that partly because of form factor, but also because of applications. But now imagine you can run all those applications on your
On the
computer
form
as well.
factor.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. To be determined. We'll see how that one goes
Yes.
in
My wife is
2021.
not going to like you if I do that, Scott. But
Yeah. Yeah. If,
um,
if like I find that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I too may buy myself an M1 Mac someday.
maybe we should get each other one for Christmas. And then I didn't buy it myself. Scott bought it for me. And then you can
That
use the same justification with your
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah. Hey, honey, I bought Ben $1,000 gift and he bought me one.
I
That's going to
mean,
go really well.
would it go any worse than you telling her that you bought yourself $1,000 gift?
Well, so far that's been going pretty bad for me too. So, although I haven't bought
So,
anything that's $1,000 yet. I think the worst thing that I bought for quote unquote myself this year was an Xbox Series X.
oh,
So that was a good solid like
five,
550
six,
well
yeah.
with tax, right? And then I had to buy a couple extra controllers just because I wanted some of the new controllers. I didn't want to pair my old controllers, but um, hey,
See, so you're pushing 1,000 there. You're
no,
550,
no, no.
seven, like
I'm like
seven, seven.
600, 625 if I rationalize it all out. And I get to copy all my old games off all the old things, so that's okay. I'm not too bad yet.
All right. So aside from my problems and my addiction, I will gladly call an addiction to installing preview and beta and any software that is not meant to be run in production that I can possibly find. Uh, that is a good goal. We could call it a goal too. That could be a good goal of mine.
It has got to be a goal or a theme. It cannot be a resolution
I do
because
not. The only
resolutions stink.
resolution I ever make on New Year's is to not make any New Year's resolutions,
That's
and
perfect.
I succeed every single year. Um, anyways, that could be argued since I am making resolution. There is also something else that was talked about that, in your and I's opinion, we will not call this one as much of a fact, should not be done. What did you see? And I noticed this week that we would recommend avoiding based on our previous experiences.
Oh, well, Microsoft Authenticator this week came out with an update that lets you use it as an autofill provider. Um,
Password provider, autofill password provider.
Autofill password provider, yes. On particularly on devices like iOS or Android devices. So you've had this capability where maybe you have like the built-in OS password manager. So
Yep.
in the case of iOS, Safari, it's probably I don't have an
It's
Android device, so Chrome. I don't know, maybe.
I don't know on an Android device.
Um, but anywho, you do have this capability to do those kinds of things. Or you've had third party apps such as LastPass or 1Password, uh, things like that, which is all well and good. Um, I would make the argument that Microsoft's password manager is decidedly Microsoft centric, and you do not want to use it for all of your passwords for all of your things. Like quite frankly, I don't want Authenticator storing my OTP codes for Twitter. Because I don't trust Authenticator. It's got some rough edges. It does some weird things. We could talk about how it hasn't had like multi-device capabilities for a long time. Like backups been a challenge with it, and Microsoft is addressing some of those things. Like um, they are adding syncing for a lot of that stuff as it comes through, but then you've got to deal with, well, is this a personal account? Is it a work account? Do I have two accounts in the vault? Like, which one am I signed into? And are they both syncing? Is only one of them syncing? So rough edges abound. And what else? I'm
It's a
not a
beta
fan of
feature, Scott.
it.
Speaking of our last conversation, this is still beta.
It is a beta feature, which I don't even know like why they did this, but you have to go into the app, turn it on in the app, and then you have to go configure your OS. Like tons of friction there. Good luck getting anybody to use that. Yeah, I don't know. I know that every time I have to open Authenticator, and I have to open Authenticator a lot to get into like the systems that I need to use.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it is like one of the most undelightful experiences that I have all the time, particularly like with my work accounts, because those are all under app locker. So if I get an authenticator request, I get to face ID into my phone, and then I get to open authenticator from the push notification, and then I get to face ID into authenticator, and then it tries to authenticate me. So, and it has app locker, so I get face ID'd into that account, which is awesome. Just wait for Face ID to go off 3 times to get me all through. It's not fun at all.
Yeah, I get why they did it because let's face it, there's also a lot of people that use simple passwords and don't go out and spend the money or the time to do something like a LastPass or a 1Password. I get why this is maybe trying to lower that barrier to entry and hey, let's all start using password managers. It's free. You don't have to go set it up. You don't have to get another third party service that you have to configure. But I'm in your boat. Um, I I think we said this on the gadget episode around Thanksgiving. We both use 1Password. 1Password has been doing this for a really, 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 really long time, and they are really, really, really good at it. I do not regret at all paying. I don't know what I even pay. $5 a month, $60 a year, even if it's $100 a year. I will gladly pay that because 1Password really does do a good job. I would be very leery, to your point, about switching to this, especially while it's in beta, and even once it's out of beta, because I felt some of your pain where you back it up and then you go to restore and you have to like go set up all your MFA all over again,
All the things
which
again.
means
Yeah,
you have to
it's
have all of your backup codes saved somewhere. And I save all my backup codes. I don't know how many other people save all of their backup codes, or you have to hope that your phone works. But
yeah.
the reliability when setting up a new device or a new computer, um, one password far exceeds my experience with Microsoft Authenticator. So at this point in time, for me, Microsoft Authenticator is exactly the way you have it. I use it for my Microsoft accounts, my personal Microsoft account, my work Microsoft account, where frankly, I don't even use the password. I just use the passwordless authentication with all of those in Authenticator, unless, of course, the app doesn't support passwordless, in which case I do still need to use my password. But um, yeah, I would be very cautious about leveraging this.
Yeah. I tend to look at some of this stuff through the lens, and this update I think is really targeted at consumers. Like it's targeted at Microsoft accounts, not organizational accounts. But being that they both live in the app, you can see that kind of long timeline, right, where that all converges. But there has to be this thing in the back of your head, like, is it technology that you would give to someone in your life, who is potentially averse to technology, not able to handle it well. Like I could take my parents, or maybe like my mother-in-law. They just want things that work, right? So I can hand them one password and set up their devices and make it so one password is the only place passwords ever go, and from there on out they're fine. I would be like shocked if I could make that happen with Authenticator. And
Yep.
I don't think I could. And a lot of that is colored by my experience with it. And I hope it gets there. But yeah, nobody should do this just because it supports it.
Right. Well, and then like we talked about as well, Authenticator is tied to your account. So if I want to
Yes.
share passwords with my wife, we both have to log in with my account on the same
Mm-hmm.
from all of our different apps into Authenticator, which causes a whole other headache on like 1Password, LastPass. You can set up multiple accounts and then have different vaults that are shared and different passwords that are shared, different passwords that are personal, set up different security on different vaults. So as kids get older, you can share other passwords with kids while keeping like maybe your Wi-Fi password between your wife and you. There's just a lot more flexibility with some of those other ones. Uh, we'll see where this goes, but I I can see where they're trying to go with it. I'm not optimistic that it'll get there
Yeah.
or that anybody should use it.
There is that part too.
Oh, so we have been critical on Microsoft's features so far this morning. Do we have? Oh, we have time left. Do we have any good news today, Scott?
Yeah.
Let's get into some happy news.
Let's get into some happy news. A couple of things that I could be excited about. I work as a program manager in Azure Storage, and I think a lot of the times, and especially this was kind of like my view of the world coming into this role. Storage can be a little bit boring. It can be stagnant, right? I need to store stuff, and how does that get done? So, what are the updates that could possibly come in a product like Azure Storage that are actually exciting? And we had some new releases, or some announcements in the month of December, which I think are actually really cool and enabling for customers that leverage Azure storage accounts, whether you use those storage accounts for just pure object storage, like maybe you're doing like blobs inside it. If you're doing Azure Data Lake Gen 2 is actually built on top of Blob. It's another protocol and endpoint on top of Blob storage accounts. So when you go create a data lake, you're actually creating just a regular Azure storage account, and then there's this additional service and endpoint that kind of gets lit up underneath it. There's all sorts of things going on there. It's not just disks and IaaS and all that. But for the month of December, we came out with Azure Storage Blob Inventory. So this is a feature that allows customers to uh, configure uh, policy rules around how inventory reports are generated for their storage accounts. So you can go and create an inventory rule, and your rule just has a name. You'll choose which type of blobs you want to uh, potentially inventory in there. Like, are you doing like block blobs or page blobs? Like what does that look like for you? And maybe you want to do some type of prefix filtering on there, and you just set up this rule and you click save, and then once a day it automatically runs, and it'll pop a CSV into a destination of your choice. So you'll just like configure like an output path where this CSV should go, and the CSV includes your account name. It includes the full object name of what was accessed, when it was created, last modified, and also the content length. Which is really cool. So if you're doing data lakes today, like let's say you're doing a data lake and you want to inventory your data lake, normally the way that would go is you would need to do a bunch of expensive operations, expensive potentially in the size of your data lake and number of objects you have in it. Like you have to iterate and enumerate and do effectively what is a list operation in the background. So if you're like enumerating blobs, that might be list blobs, or just listing within your file system for HNS. And that can be time consuming. Like if you have hundreds of millions of objects, it might take like 40 hours to go ahead and list and enumerate every object that's in there, figure out the size of it, the name of it, all those kinds of things. So now this is just built in and ready to go. Like you click a couple of buttons and you get the CSV that pops out. And then at the end, once the inventory report has actually run, you can have it actually send you like events. So it supports event grid. So you can have like an event grid event come through and say your inventory report has run, and then you can do other automations off that. Like if you wanted to transform your inventory report somehow, like massage it inside an Azure function or some other unit of compute, that is all possible too. So I think this solves like a huge pain point for our customers. Like it's a request we get a lot. We've written a bunch of custom scripts and tooling to help customers do this. There's ways to go into Storage Explorer and click a single folder and try and figure out the size of it. But there's nothing that spits out a report this cleanly, that is just built into the system, and now it is built in, which
All right.
is awesome.
It looks like it actually gives you the file contents too, like an MD5.
It
Is
gives
that
you
an MD5 hash of the content?
it
Is that
gives
what
you
that actually
the
is?
uh, yeah, it'll give you a couple things. If you have if you've stored the MD5, that's there, but it will always give you the content length, which is what's coming directly out of what you like kind of like streamed into Azure Storage.
Got it. Very nifty. So you can't, at this point in time, you can't like create custom reports in terms of what you get in the CSV. What you get in the CSV is static. It's all around customizing what gets sent to that CSV or what gets included in the CSV when the report runs.
So the CSV is pretty fixed in nature right now. Like this is preview; it might change over time.
Yep.
Things might get added to it. Like one of the ways that we've approached that is there is maybe other data that you want to understand. Like once you have this report, maybe you want to go and have a report that wasn't every object and every content length, but I want to generate like a Power BI report that say has every folder and the size of every folder, and then maybe be able to expand that out through a slicer to the objects between it, sorted by file size. Because I want to
Uh-huh.
find, like I want to treat it as like a tree view
Right.
and browse through my storage and find the biggest stuff. Like, do I have stuff that's sticking around that I need to delete, whatever that is? So the way that so far we've thought about that one is using a combination of like grid or just Azure functions where it can attach directly to your storage account. It can monitor that location anytime a new inventory report pops in. Then go ahead and do that other automation and figure things
Got
out,
it.
like
So it can use
fire
the
off a
CSV.
flow, build your Excel sheet, or go update your Power BI report, whatever it happens to be.
Okay, so use the CSV as more of an inventory, and then use
The
that to
CSV, the
like do a
CSV
for loop through
is
it.
the inventory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once
Okay.
it's there, you can do whatever you want with it once it's there. Like it is just a file that lands in blob storage for you.
Got it. It doesn't look like you did mention preview. Scott, you're telling me to go do more preview stuff. Um, but it also looks like, well, this is in preview. One, it is free, so you can go play with it, and
Yes.
pricing will determine once it's GA'd. But it is also not available in a ton of Azure regions yet. It looks like if you do want to go spin this up, France Central, Canada Central, and Canada East. So
Yeah,
all of you
this is
Canucks,
currently a preview play around with it feature. And I think a lot of like Azure features are flighted this way, right? Like we talked about like insider rings and things like that. If you think about Azure as a series of concentric rings, like you got to start small and get things out there. So quite often that's baked into kind of the service and where they think they have, like in this case, like for this feature, what it's really doing, like there's effectively like external compute that needs access to your storage accounts. So, if you have like storage account firewalls, you do need to enable Microsoft trusted services, things like that. So while it bakes and you figure out like, well, how much compute does it actually take to run
yep,
inventory and do all those things? So
which
you
is
can figure out how much it's going to cost.
right. I was gonna
Like,
say that's probably
yeah,
why we don't have pricing. So they're still
yeah,
trying to figure out how much this actually costs for a customer to run.
yeah. Yeah. I can tell you this, like if you're a customer today and you go and run an inventory and you're actually doing like say like a list blob operation, and then you're enumerating multiple times with list blobs and you're running all those transactions and you're potentially doing like git blob operations against the blobs, like that is expensive computationally. It is expensive because you're firing off a bunch of HTTP requests and, potentially transactionally too, right?
Yep.
If you have 10,000 items, like, okay, you can list that. If you have 10 million or 100 million, or hundreds of millions or a billion, then all of a sudden that starts to be a little bit more of a time consuming process.
Yeah, and this is baked right into the Blob service. So it's not like you could go
Correct.
spin up this report in France and look at Blob storage in the US. You're going to have your storage in France or in one of those Canadian
Yes.
regions.
Yep. Yep. So yes, regional availability, like you said, is limited. I would expect like most things that rapidly changes over time. Like we could come back and have this conversation in like 3 months, and that list will be a wider list. I think the other really cool thing about this feature is in my time at Microsoft and kind of like learning about storage, there's been this thing where maybe a feature comes out like, and it's only available for blobs or it's only available for ADLS. Like this is available for everything. So it works on premium blob storage accounts. It works on regular blob storage accounts. It works on accounts that have flat namespace or hierarchical namespace, all the things. So I'm excited to see what customers can do with that one.
Got it. Very cool. That does look like you could do some fun stuff with it. I don't do a ton with Blob storage, but just from what I've seen, uh, yeah, looks good. Any other? So we're maybe a little over our time, but there's one more around Blob storage here that you sent this morning around monitoring Azure Blob storage as well. So, do you want to spend a few minutes and dive into this one as well?
Sure.
Or will this one take longer than we want to?
That one might take longer, but I do have another storage one that came out this month as well, which I think is really good and like a great customer enabler, and that is storage account recovery. So I don't think most, like, unless you monitor the Azure updates feed, you may or may not know that this kind of thing is out there. But storage account recovery gives you the ability through the regular support request process to say you accidentally delete a storage account.
I'm sure
Um,
that's never happened.
it never. It happens like so much. Um, uh, but you accidentally delete a storage account. You didn't have resource locks on your resource group. You didn't realize that the data was actually that important to you. So maybe you didn't have it configured for immutability. Like whatever it was, you didn't have soft delete enabled because you only had soft delete for objects and soft delete for containers was in preview. Like whatever it was. But you went down a path where your storage account somehow disappeared. So the way that worked in the past was like, oh well. Or you might reach out to support, and then support may or may not get back to you and tell you like what can be done there.
Yep.
But now it's been uh, kind of memorialized within the support process that you can go in to perform storage account recovery yourself. So if you delete a storage account and it's like 30 minutes later, you're going, oh no, what have I done? And you haven't created a new storage account with the same name. The resource group is still there, or the resource group can be recreated with the same name. So think about this maybe as like you're restoring a team site or a SharePoint site. You know how it has to land at the
Yep.
same URL, same path, same kind of thing. Like we want your account to come back and land at the same path. You can just go into the support process and say you would like to recover his deleted storage account. So you do a new support request. It's going to be technical. You select your subscription. You know, what do you want to do? My problem is deletion and recovery. And then you'll get this option to go through a customer controlled solution where you can do storage account recovery yourself as a customer. You'll select your account to recover and then click a button and it'll kind of restore in the background. There's certainly some rules to this. Like when you delete a storage account, we don't retain that storage indefinitely, right?
Yep.
So
Makes
there's
sense.
there's a garbage collection process that goes on. So you do need to be able to beat that garbage collection process to be able to get everything back. So if you're gonna do this, and this feature specifically, the account has to have been deleted only within the last 14 days. Even if it was deleted within the last 14 days, it may or may not be able to be recovered, depending on when garbage collection kind of did its thing.
Got it. So
And
garbage collection.
I it's not a guaranteed thing. You can go
Got
and
it.
try and recover a storage account. It is recovery is 100% not guaranteed. Like you're not paying for this service. This is just something that's kind of like built in, right?
Yep.
So it is, and the way the docs call it out, it's a uh, best effort attempt. Another way to think about that might be like commercially reasonable, right? Like if you're asking me to go recover your storage account and all I have to do is run a piece of automation, that's pretty easy. But if I have to go do a bunch of extended recovery, like now that costs me money, but I'm not charging you any money. So really like best effort, right? If the data is there, like you have the opportunity now to get it back yourself. And I think like that's the empowering thing is it is 100% built into the out of the box portal support experience. Like you don't need to submit a support ticket and actually have that ticket like take 48 hours to be resolved or things like that.
Right.
You can just go initiate this yourself.
Okay. So that garbage collection then isn't like a rolling 14 days from the time of deletion. It's garbage collection happens at this time, this time, this time, and this time. And based on how that lines up with deletion, it may or may not actually be around.
It's a thing that happens in the background. Suffice to say that if it runs, you're not going to be able to recover your data. So the
Yep.
quicker that you realize you have deleted your storage account that should not have been deleted, then you can come back and figure that out.
And it doesn't look like they say any restrictions on size, but again, they're also best effort. So
Correct. Yeah.
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 All right.
Ultimately, you should do all the other things that prevent the deletion of your accounts in the first place,
Right.
right? Like
Putting the
resource
locking
locks should
resources
should
and
100% be there. You should consider soft delete capabilities and like built-in data protection, all that kind of stuff.
limit permission so not everybody can just go in and delete a account.
Yeah. Limit management plane permissions, absolutely. Yeah, all those things.
Yeah, all the things that everybody should be doing anyways. Very cool. Well, it is like I like when they do this because I remember back like in the early days of Azure when you started reaching CPU quotas, you had the same type of thing, right? You had to actually go in and just open a support ticket and said, "Hey, I need more CPU cores," and then you just kind of sit around and wait for somebody to see the ticket and respond to it, and then they started adding, "Oh, now we have a dedicated support request just for increasing CPU cores." And it
Yeah.
started happening a lot quicker. So as they start putting more of these specific requests in, it is nice. I found that helps with, like you said, the speed of it. It gets to the right people right away, so that some of these maybe more frequent, I wouldn't necessarily call them basic, but more frequent support requests can be addressed quicker than people just submitting general support for their random issues.
Oh, for sure.
So, all right. Well, thanks, Scott. We'll wrap it
Yeah.
up for today. Maybe we'll go talk about monitoring Azure Blob Storage in the next episode. I did my two-part on syntax. You can do your two-part on Blob Storage
Yeah, we
features.
we can totally talk about monitoring.
And we can talk about all the fun stuff we got for Christmas, including brand new M1 Airs.
Yes, or how Scott played his Xbox Series X into the ground because he was finally allowed to plug it in.
Which game?
Oh, ooh, which game? Is recently I got back into Shadow of War.
Okay.
I don't know if you're like a Lord of the Rings fan or anything like that, but there's this series out there. It started with a game called Shadow of Mordor, and then there's Shadow of War, but it's super bloody. Like you cleave orcs in half, decapitate them, all these kinds of things. Like you're effectively trying to invade and take over Mordor. And I love like hacky kind of games, like where you just button mash and you can win because I'm
Yep.
not good at any kind of game. And if I put this thing in easy mode, it is totally a button mash game. I beat it like maybe last year whenever it came out, and I recently started playing it again, and I'm like 30 hours into a new campaign, and I forgot how much I love it. So
Got it.
that is probably what I will waste the majority of my time on. Although thought I saw the new Game Pass, like the new Game Pass games were announced, and they had some interesting things in there. Plus, all the EA Play stuff is out. I don't think I'll be. I don't think I will be hurting for new games. Yeah, let's pull up Game Pass real quick and take a
Got
look.
it. All right. So, are we ending the episode, or are we going to keep going for those of you that are those people that are interested in our Xbox games?
Oh, we
We'll
can end
decide
and do
later where
this
we're
one
going to end this
offline.
episode. Um, I am on the fence about getting the new Call of Duty, the Cold War.
Oh, just
I've
get it. Well,
always loved Call of Duty. Well, it's
do you
like
do
$80.
Xbox or PlayStation?
Xbox.
Yeah, just get it.
Okay.
I mean,
For
if you
Christmas.
like those games, right? Like the Call of Duty
Right.
franchise has never been like, it's always been self-improving as it gets there. The reason I was asking about Xbox versus PlayStation, the PS5 has that new like inertia controller on the triggers,
Uh-huh.
and one of the things they did in Call of Duty is they took those triggers. So if you're using like a pistol, you can pull it
Yep.
really quick because it's nice, easy, right? It's a
Right.
light weapon. But if you're doing like a sniper rifle that might have some resistance, you'll actually feel the resistance in the
Really?
trigger on the controller. Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
yeah,
So that one. So another one. Did you ever play Battletoads on? I think it was the original Nintendo.
yeah. We've been having a lot of fun with the new
Did
Battletoads
you
and
see? So you got the new
the new.
Battletoads?
Yeah, it's in Game Pass, and what another one that's out there is Streets of Rage. You should absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
I have that
Go,
on my Wii, but I hadn't seen that it was out on the Xbox.
yeah. Go do the new Streets of Rage. It's in.
Is that
That
in
one should
Game
be.
Pass as
That
well?
should be. I mean, I don't buy games for the Xbox, so yes, they should all be in Game Pass. Rogue Squadron is delightful. Like that's the Star Wars flying around one.
Yep.
Like if you're into that kind of thing, Battlefront is an awesome game. It's another Star Wars game. Lots of Star Wars running around our house for some reason. And what's the other one? Minecraft Dungeons is good. Like again, like slapdash. Like go ahead and just kind of like fire up a game and play it for a little bit, kind of thing.
All right. Very cool. All right. So should we end on that now? Now we can
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
All
We
right.
can end there.
Well, go enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy your Xbox. Get some sleep. Don't stay up too late playing games.
I will try my best.
And we will figure out when to record the next episode so that we can stay on our weekly cadence, considering neither one of us are going to be getting up and recording this at 8 a.m. Christmas Day morning.
Yeah, that's not happening. But
All right. Sounds good.
all right.
Well, thanks,
Thanks,
Scott.
man.
We'll talk to you later.
Yep.